I have worked many jobs in my life, but there was one job that I have never been able to talk about openly with anyone to this day. This happened during a time when I was going through a very difficult period in my life. For several months, I had been searching for a job continuously, but I wasn't finding success anywhere. Every passing day was adding to my worries. Then one day, I got a job as a night shift sweeper at an old theater. Without wasting a single moment, I accepted the offer immediately. Only one thing mattered to me. I had finally found a job. The first few days passed completely normally. I would do my work quietly and leave before morning. But one day, while I was cleaning near the stage, my eyes fell upon a man. He was standing silently a short distance away, and he was constantly staring at me. I thought he was probably one of the theater employees. I put my broom aside and started walking toward him. He continued looking at me. Then he slowly turned around and began walking toward the back section of the theater. I picked up my pace. I felt that perhaps he wanted to say something to me. But as soon as he reached a room nearby, he suddenly vanished from my sight. I immediately looked inside that room. Inside were old stage curtains, broken seats, wooden frames, and equipment that had not been used for years. But there was no man there. I checked the entire room. There wasn't even a place where anyone could hide. I took a deep breath and said to myself, maybe the lighting and exhaustion made me imagine something that wasn't really there. I went back to my work, but that night, that man's face never left my mind, not even for a moment. Over the next few days, I did everything I could to forget what had happened that night. I kept telling myself that maybe what I had seen wasn't real. But every night, as soon as I got close to that part of the theater, my footsteps would slow down on their own. Then one night, I saw the same man again. This time, I was able to see him far more clearly than before. His face looked unnaturally terrifying. His eyes were deeply sunken. His face looked lifeless, and his complexion was as pale as if sunlight had not touched it for years. There was something about him that filled me with a strange sense of dread. He didn't blink even once. He was just standing there, silently staring at me. A few moments later, he turned around and began walking straight toward that old room. I took a few steps after him, but in the very next moment, he vanished from my sight once again. It felt as though the blood in my veins had frozen. I no longer had the courage to stay there any longer. I left the cleaning unfinished and walked straight out of the theater and went home. I didn't go to work for the next 3 days. On the third day, I received a phone call from the theater. I was told that my shift the following day would be in the morning instead of at night, because there was going to be an event that evening, and the cleaning needed to be completed beforehand. The next morning, I arrived at the theater on time. I was cleaning as usual. But the moment my eyes fell on that room, the entire incident came rushing back into my mind. After a while, I set my cleaning supplies aside and began walking toward that room. Slowly, I stepped inside. Old equipment was scattered everywhere, a strange smell throughout the room. I began carefully examining every single thing in the room. In the far corner stood an old wooden wardrobe. I walked over to it. The door opened with difficulty. Inside, there were only old theater costumes hanging there. I closed the wardrobe and turned around to leave. Then suddenly, my foot felt something unusual beneath a section of the floor. It felt as though the surface underneath was not as solid as the rest of the floor. I stomped my foot down hard. A faint sound came from below, and that section of the floor sank slightly. I immediately froze. At that very moment, I suddenly heard the sound of footsteps coming from somewhere outside the room. I calmly stepped out of the room and busied myself with my work, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. That room, that man, that section of the floor. Even after I got home that day, My mind remained fixed on that room. The following night, as soon as my shift began, I went straight back there. This time, I didn't come empty-handed. I had brought a sturdy iron bar from the cleaning supplies. I moved the equipment away from that spot and slowly began breaking through the floor. A few minutes later, the top layer finally gave way. Beneath it was damp soil. I started digging through the dirt with the iron bar. Then, I noticed something white. I leaned closer, and in the very next moment, my hands began to shake. It was a human hand. I immediately backed away and rushed outside to call the police. Before long, the entire theater was filled with police officers. When they excavated the area, a human skeleton was discovered. The investigation revealed that he was an actor at the theater, who had suddenly gone missing many years earlier. The mystery of his disappearance had never been solved. Now, only his remains had finally been found. But it was never discovered who had killed him, or why he had been buried beneath that very room. I left that theater job forever. And one more thing. After that night, I never saw that man again.